Merhaba. Tekrardan merhaba. Katılacak olan herkese heyecanla bekliyorum. Çok büyük bir heyecanla Thomas'ın da ekrana bağlanmasını gerçekleştirmek için şu an herkesle birlikte gerçekten fingers crossed dua ediyorum. Umarım en kısa sürede canlı yayınımıza kaldığımız yerden devam edebiliriz, başlatabiliriz. Şimdi tekrardan girdim, el sallıyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum katıldığınız ve çok tatlı bir şekilde benimle birlikte bu tatlı hikapları açtığınız ve sabır gösterdiğiniz için. Şimdi tekrardan bekliyorum. I'm on again. Hızlıca açmamız sağlandı. Uzun yaşam, sağlık, köpek dostlarımızda özel olarak çalışan Thomas aynı zamanda kedi dostlarımız hakkında da müthiş bilgilere sahip. Bu yüzden gerçekten konuşmanın bir saate bile sığmayacağını düşünürken şu an dakikalarımızın bu şekilde teknik bazı engellerle geçiyor olması beni birazcık üzse de benimle birlikte bu yolculukta olduğunuz için çok müteşekkirim. Şimdi Thomas'ı tekrardan bekliyorum. Long Living Pets. Davet ettim. I hope he gets it. Thomas, I just sent you the invite again. Let me know if it pops up. And let me know if there's anything that says on your screen, like if you can ask to join in. If this doesn't work, then I'm just like, I don't even know what to do. I'm just going to try to ask someone else to join in to see if like this has any problem with it. Evet. Çok tatlısınız. Gönlünüzce olsun. Allah bol kazanç versin hepinize. Ve aynı zamanda bu bütçesel konularda da bazen uzaktan baktığımızda yanılıyor olabiliyoruz. O yüzden dilerseniz o mama da şu an ne kadar bir bütçe ayırıyorsunuz. Daha sonrasında aynı zamanda farklı öngörmediğimiz bazı maliyetlerle de karşılaştırdığımızda taze besinlerin aslında ne kadar hesaplı olduğuna dair birlikte de bir çalışma yapabiliriz. Şimdi evet, maybe you can send you. Okay, long living pets can't join. I don't understand what is going on. Okay, let me see. Okay, how can we do this? Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna just şöyle yapalım. Buradan biri canlı yayına bir saniyelik çıkmak için bana el kaldırabilirse bir öyle bir deneme yapalım. Sorun bizde mi? Nerede? Onu anlamak için daha rahat bir şekilde karar vereceğim. Thomas, I'm trying to invite you in. Is there anything on your screen that says like, join the conversation or like ask to be a part of the conversation? I think there's a button like that. If there is, okay. No. Esma sizi alıyorum 2 saniye, tamam mı? Bir deneyelim. I'm just trying this out, Thomas, if like this is working with me or if my app. Okay. Esma'nın bir tanesiniz. Çok teşekkür
Evet, selamlar. Yardımcı olmak istedim. Umarım yani belki kendisi gönderirse daveti bu şekilde bağlanabilir canlı yayına. İstiyorsanız bunu bir test edin.
Gerçekten bazen tatlısınız. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bu şekilde sorumluluk alıp yardım ettiğiniz için. Ben de aynısını önereceğim.
Bu arada. Umarım güzel bir canlı yayın olur. Sabırsızlıkla bekliyoruz. Çok teşekkürler.
Umarım. Çok tatlısınız. Ben de çok teşekkür ediyorum. Şimdi aynısını önereceğim. Demek ki bizim Instagram'da henüz bir problem yok. Çok sağ olun Esma Hanım.
Rica ederim. Görüşmek üzere.
Çocuklarınıza da çok selamlar. Hoşçakalın.
Bay bay.
Ay ne tatlısınız. Yaşayın ya. Allah'ım gerçekten çok mutlu oldum. Okay. Thomas, in short, we just tried if someone asks to join in the conversation and I allow them, then it works. Is there anything on the screen that says like, I think it's on the bottom of the screen. If you push it, then you can like ask to join in because maybe you can like try to update the phone. Phones like Instagram app. I have no idea, but I feel like the camera works, but if anything doesn't go right, like, I don't know even what to do. Maybe you can put like postpone a talk or something, but I'll save the questions and everything. And we have a great question in Turkish that just came up. So, you know, God help me. Like, what can I say right now? Like, seriously. Let me see. But this is fun. Anyway. Okay. Thomas, me, like, okay. And let me see how he can. Evet, epilepsi kesinlikle Thomas'a sorabileceğimiz bir alan. Kesinlikle onun da çok çok çok derin bir deneyimi olduğu bir alan. Umarım katılma fırsatı olur. Long Living Pets katılamıyor diyor. Sizce bu neden olabilir? Is your Instagram up to date? I just asked this because maybe that's the thing. Okay, and you know, Thomas, I think you're hearing me right now. I don't want to put any pressure on you. This is already like such a hassle because I already mixed up the time zones. I thought it was like California time zone, and he said Mountain time zone. So he thought our talk was an hour ahead, and now it's not. So like he already switched up his consultations for us to be here, and now I feel so bad because, you know, out of this technical difficulty, we can't have him. And he already like switched up his schedule for us. So I hope this goes through. And thank you for like bearing this with me, you guys. This is amazing. And I'm just like, well, we'll just wait it out a few more minutes and send another invite. Okay, I'm trying it once again. And I just sent him another invite. Telefon kaynaklı olabilir. Evet, çünkü bizim çok sık yaptığımız bir şey canlı yayın. Daha öncesinde hiçbir problem olmamıştı. Thomas, there's like a red notification coming up. It says long living pets can't join in on Instagram, and I have never had this notification before, so I really don't know how to troubleshoot with it, and it's just making me so anxious. Let me see. Like, I wish we had something else to convert to right away, like a program, but it's just so hard, you know, because we're not on Zoom or Facebook or whatever. So let me see what we can do. And he's online, and let me see if I have my other phone here. Okay. Arkadaşlar, gerçekten çok tatlı bir an oldu bu. Kapı aç yapsın Türk işi. Ay, yaptık biliyor musunuz? Ben telefonu kapatıp açtım. Bende bir sorun var diye sana. Okay. That he'll see the camera at the bottom of the screen. Okay, Thomas, do you see one of our guests recommends that there's like a plus button at the bottom of the screen, and if he clicks, then he'll see the camera icon. And I know this is such a bugger. I mean, I'm trying to get you up. Every time I invite you in, a few seconds later, the notification comes up, long living pets can join, and I don't understand what's going on with this, but I really feel like this is such a test. This is such a test for me, and you know, for like, we rescheduled his program, and you know, he postponed his consultation for us, and now we're waiting for Instagram to allow us to talk. So please just let us in, you know. And I'm just like trying to get it up again because, you know, we have it all set it up, and maybe there is something else that I can't think of right now, but I don't really know how. If I like faith, you know, it just comes up to long living pets can't join. Do you have any idea, Thomas? Did you turn off? I think you did turn off the phone. Did you maybe like check if the software is up to date? I mean, the app. If Instagram is up to date, did you check that one? Because I guess it's all good with us, and I'm not trying to like put this on you. Please do not, you know, like understand me in that way, because I don't mean that, but it's just like there is something about this talk that's making us work for it. Yes. Oh my God.
Finally, yeah. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I'm like, this is such a celebratory moment for me. I introduced you in Turkish. It was so great, Thomas, and I'm so happy that you stuck out with us through this, technical difficulty. I'm so happy you're here, and so sorry for the hassle.
No worries.
And this is great. Thank you. Welcome back. And, the Turkish community as well as probably your community, people from all over the world are joining in to hear from you. I'm just so excited. We had a few talks a few years before, and now I'm just trying to make more time for these, because these are the most important things, because, we have to learn and keep asking questions from who have just given all their lives to this information. And in Turkish, you did not get to hear that part. I talked about, how you grew up, and your parents and their influence on you, and, how your dad taught you how to live with, and with dogs, with certain really simply applied rules and behaviors around the house, and your mother, who was devoted to rescue and heal all kinds of animals, and her influence on you. So that was just like great to start with, and
Right.
so such an organic and amazing life. I'm just so excited that you're here with us, and I want to let you speak for a few moments if you want to say anything, and then we'll just hop on with the questions. And I know that you have a lot of like those 4 points to share with us, so we'll just move on from right there.
Okay, I don't care how we start. What do you want to start with?
Just like maybe let us know how it's going with the research project, and how you've been, and the dogs and the cats. We love to see them there as well. How is your health? Your loved ones, everyone's okay, I hope.
Oh, everybody's good, and it's going good. I mean, there's a long research, so I'm still gathering information, and my research is not complete before I have, the dogs have to live out their lives.
Yes.
And it sounds terrible, waiting for more dogs, to die. It sounds horrible, but I need more data before I go out. But what I'm sharing with people is trends that I've seen over the last 20 years. That sees significant certain things that happens over and over again. And that to me is my type of research or science, because I see things repeat itself over and over and over again. That's sort of science to me. So that's what I'm sort of gathering now, and I can share those main factors that I see is contributing to healthier lives and longer lives. So, and you what you can start with, so I can go right into those 4.
We can go right into those 4 and then go on with the questions, because I would love to learn from you, and those trends are everything. That is science, that is observation, right? And if it's
anything that repeats itself over and over again, it's sort of, I mean, it's not a scientific study. Nobody can afford to do a 30-year scientific study on thousands of raw-fed dogs. That's impossible. That's going to cost millions and millions of dollars, and nobody has any interest in investing in that. But so the next best is to do an observational study like I'm doing. I'm observing, and I take, I document things that happens. And when I see things happens repeatedly, I take note of that. So eventually when the study is done and I can put a full report on each pet, then that's going to be a little bit more comprehensive. But right now I'm just sharing common trends, and people can take it for what it is. It's and to most people it's going to make total sense. They already know it.
Yes. And it's so critical. And I also told people that you have this huge library in your websites, and the people can download books and can work with you one-on-one. So it's like case by case, and they can actually like, get this information that you're seeing, you've given so many years for, and apply to their lives with your consultation and your, by you leading them how to, because this is really critical, and it's not information that can be applied everywhere to all cases. So for anything like really specific, I already told them to contact you, and so that's done. But these 4 points we can start with. I'm really excited to learn about them.
Yeah, I wish I had a screen. There's no way to share a screen on this phone. All right, so the first one is food, of course, and everybody knows that.
Yes.
It starts with the food. There's very little that can be fixed if the food is not right. And since dogs are course, and cats too, so they both go with dogs and cats. Most of what I do, or we'll talk about. So food is number one, absolutely. So a raw food diet is essential to create an immune system that can keep a dog or cat healthy. So that's so. If your immune system get compromised, your dog or cat's going to get sick as well. Any worst case. But food number two is exercise, and exercise is so not taken serious. I mean, I get so many, because I do cancer, mostly deal with cancer in dogs, and so many pet owners come to me, and I'm shocked how little they exercise. Oh, yeah, I'll go maybe, once a week, twice a week, something like that. And that's not enough to keep a dog healthy. You gotta exercise your dog. For me, minimum 20 minutes twice a day. And very few people do that. But if they go hour is fine. They go an hour once a day, that's pretty good. But the minimum, if you don't have a lot of time in the morning and afternoon or evening, if you work all day, if you can get at least 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes later, that's make a huge difference.
Yeah. And
the reason is the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is not working and not really functioning without the dog moving. Like, you don't really exercise your cat, but cats tend to really more playful and move around and things. Still, especially with dogs, and I see this over and over and over again when I see dogs with bad health, compromised liver, kidneys, all kinds of other diseases, is often lack of exercise too. So that's two, absolute number two for me. Then the number three is to try to limit, and this is the controversial one, vaccines, because a lot of vaccine damage in dogs that have been repeatedly vaccinated every single year for things that don't really need to say about vaccine, but that don't really need to be vaccinated. There are laws in different countries, there are laws here in the United States that you have to vaccinate your dog for rabies. But if you work with a vet or holistic vet, they can help you at least limit those vaccines to minimum. So you just do what you're legally obligated to. But I firmly believe if a dog is vaccinated one time, it lasts for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Better get natural immunity by getting these different type of viruses and survive. That's the best. I mean, see that. I think people start learning this now with COVID. They see the people that got sick from COVID, didn't even have vaccines, and they get a natural immunity. That seemed to be a very strong immunity, and I've seen that in dogs for years and years and years. So whatever you can limit there legally without getting in trouble, I'm all for.
Yeah. This is really important. I'm just keeping my questions to the last.
Well, I don't much into vaccines because they always get me in trouble. But that's all I'm going to say. Just see if we can limit it as much as possible. And the third one is just general exposure to toxins and chemicals and things like that around the house, or even if you can find alternative to flea, tick, and heartworm, those things, that's also extremely beneficial. And if you can do those four things, you have a really, really good chance to have a pet that live much longer than what statistically is reported for breeds. They have, I don't know if you've seen those, if you have a specific breed. You can go online on what is the expected lifetime for these different breeds, and they are, you know, charged for that. And I see in my study, these dogs that I have on a raw food, they way past those what they expected to lifespan they're expected to live from those statistics that's out there. So that's sort of what I'm comparing the dogs in my study with, is because that's the only thing that's really out there. And then see, know how fast, I mean, how far they can pass that expected lifespan. So.
Yes, and you're so radical about these expected lifespans. You know, yeah, I read your website. I think there was a comment about, you know, it breaks your heart to hear those expected lifespans, and a lot of us have been trained by what we have heard about. You know, like dogs should live up to only like if they live up to like 8 years old, then it's, you know, good, or you know, but it's not that way. And someone here wrote dogs should be living 20 to 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
And we're gonna have a lot to talk about, you know, lengthening their lives.
Exactly what this lady Kaya, whatever she wrote there, with an 18-year-old dog.
Yes.
No medication, raw fed. I'm assuming this is raw fed too, and running around all day, or at least, you know, running around. That's really what it boils down to. Good food, no medication, and then exercise. These dogs live long. I see it over and over again, and it's not that difficult to do. I know there is an issue with food, maybe especially in your country, it's expensive, and many other countries too, where they can't afford it. But, you know, if you can't afford it, and then you do those 4 things I mentioned, you're going to have dogs live into the late teens and early 20s.
Oh, yes, yes.
Probably, we have moved dogs so far from their natural habitat, you know, in nature. I mean, taking them into our homes and exposed them to so many different things, physically and mentally, that they were never meant to deal with. So I'm trying, all I do as an animal naturopath is closing that gap. Like, you know, away on nature here, and then a home, they live in an apartment, and see how much can I close that. And the more you can close it, the longer and healthier your animal's going to be.
Of course. And
make it too complicated. People tend to complicate this thing way too much, and then the fear comes in. No, I'm not sure if I'm giving enough for that and that and that and this. And to me, I never think about that. I never calculated any micronutrients or anything, but anything I've done, and my Danes live pretty long. And many in my study the same. You know, if you can, for me, the key to feed and raw food diet is to feed 4 or 5 different proteins if you can, 3 or 4 if you can do that, 1 or 2 different liver from different sources, or organ meats. I mean, one being liver, and then maybe find some other organ meats. And then if you then top that off with an egg 2 or 3 times a week, you have a really good meal right there. And that in itself is gonna make your dog pretty healthy and make it able to protect itself from different bacteria and viruses that they will get, because, you know, their nose are glued to the ground. They're going to sniff in things. They're going to get things, and they're going to get diarrhea one day, and then other things like that happens with my dogs and any dog, but they recover from it. That's the difference. You know, they recover. Give them a day or 2 and they'll be fine in most cases. So if people would bring too much fear into raw feeding, and I believe that's much easier to feed raw than it's to feed any other diet that's cooked. Anytime you cooked, you're missing so many minerals, you're missing enzymes, you're missing nutrients that are destroyed during the cooking process. So that is just hard to figure out. When you feed a diet, most of it is there. Yes, I do like supplementing a little bit. Minerals is a good thing to supplement, because minerals are pretty much destroyed by the way we treat our soil. So it's good to supplement a little bit here with that, and but nothing make it into this enormous, complicated project of trying to. First of all, every dog is different, every human is different, our nutritional needs are different, so nobody really knows what each dog need when it comes to all the nutrients. But the body is smart. It will just take what it needs. So if you feed a wide range of meats, and it's going to be in there somewhere, adding the egging, most of it is there. And if the body needs any of these things, it will ask for it. And the body will provide. But, and that's how you balance. You balance from within, not from the outside, since every dog is different. Even the meats are different. You can look up how much nutrients there is in 1 ounce of meat or 1 pound of meat, whatever it is, and they will list it right there. That true for the meat that is from California or something from Florida, something from Turkey, probably different nutritional values. So that's another mystery. Try to solve that. So, but you don't have to, because the body takes what it needs.
Just variety, right? Variety.
And then the body doesn't need it. They either store it in their, what we call organ reserves, because in the wild, animals don't eat every day. And so they can go days and days without food, fine, and just live on their organ reserves. But that on a kibble diet, on a dry food diet, there is not much to take nutrients from and not much to store, so they will always lack something.
And it was really essential that you said that you would have to think more with cooked food, because you're losing a lot of the nutrients through the process of cooking. But with raw, then if you're feeding a variety of proteins, and especially organ meat, if you're just keeping to the simple rules of that, maybe there are questions about that, then the body knows which nutrients to use and can balance over time.
Variety is the key. You just feed a variation of different type of proteins and organ meats.
Yes, but that was really important. The 4 factors, and I always thought about these factors as in food, exercise, and the mood around the house. Like the psychological mood around the house, and I feel like that really influences the dogs or like the cat's behavior as well. But this was really, really important for us to go over, and especially for I don't know how is your observation with this, but especially people who are living with smaller dogs tend to limit their exercises more. What do you think about that? Is your observation more about the smaller dogs who are not exercised properly, or like bigger dogs as well? Larger dogs as well.
I see what Zagia's
yes.
That is a very good point, because she feed once a day, which I absolutely love. I only feed once a day, and she gets a lot of flack for it, or hate.
Yes.
And I believe in feeding once a day, because then you have about 24 hours with no food and give the digestive system the rest, and it sort of drift into like a intermittent type of fasting, which is very healthy. Because when the body doesn't deal with food or digest food, which it uses a lot of resources to do, then it can use those resources for healing. And what I do, I also skip 1 day a week, so that 1 day they don't get any food. And that's another healthy thing, in my opinion. But that's what I do. But the once a day on an adult dog is perfect, in my opinion. I think it's that also mimics more nature,
Definitely. So once a day feeding and walks for at least an hour for all dogs, not just big or small, but all dogs, right?
Yeah, I feed mine in the evening, and then they rest for a couple of hours, 2-3 hours, and then they go out for the last potty break. But they walked before that twice, in the morning and the afternoon or the evening, and then I feed them an hour after they finish the walk, and then they kind of sort of, rest for a little bit. And I have a very, very playful Dane, which is 3 years old. It's like over playful, say that late, because they eat about 3-4 pounds each. I let them out one by one, so they don't start playing with a full stomach. So, they just kind of protect them that way. Now, back to exercise with little dogs. Yes, little dogs tend to be exercise less, but they also sort of get more exercise inside the house, because, with their little feet and little thing, they run around and stuff. So is this from maybe medium up have really benefit from exercise, but the small ones too. I had mini dachshunds and before, and they walk the same. You walk that my big dogs were, so they can do it. I mean, it's I encourage to walk them. That's good for the humans too. We benefit from walking exactly the same way as humans. I mean, dogs, animals. Our lymphatic system needs to be activated too, and the only way you do that is by walking or running and moving. So we both kind of benefit from walking, the human and the animal. So
For sure. And there's a really great conversation going on in the chat. People are responding to each other, and I love this. But one of our guests asked, it's a little up, so I'm just going to repeat it. She says, I have a lab whippet mix. Her body doesn't produce cortisol, and she takes cortisone pills every day. Although she eats raw, exercises every day, our vet thinks that she has to take cortisone pills. What should I do? And one of our other guests says, no, don't give them the pills. Just keep on raw and don't listen to what they're saying. So would you say anything on that, or is that a less clear question?
I can't get into that because I don't know enough. You can't just say stop giving something and then a week later the dog is not moving anymore, or something like that. And I would be very careful doing that. I need to know much more.
But, of course, I assumed it was kind of that way. But if there's anything more that they can learn from you, they can always reach out to you. So we'll just keep that open. And thank you for all the contribution.
To play, how long you've been on the roll, was it vaccination? What type of vaccination had they gone through? Because vaccination can trigger all kinds of crazy stuff in the body. And exercise, what type of environment they live in. There's so many things that come into play with these things. And if you want to take a dog off anything, I always, at least as a general rule, you go very little by little. You don't cut things off straight away in most cases. So you're very careful removing when it comes to drugs and things like that from a dog, and then do some testing while you're doing it and see if anything's get thrown off. But a raw-fed dog, in most cases, if they don't have gone into some dramatic, have been many years on kibble and then created some autoimmune type of disease and things like that, will do very good on raw food alone, because it's a very healing diet for dogs too. And most dogs that had issues that was not resolved by drugs and medication and specifically allergies and things like that, that goes away in most cases, just switching the diet without doing anything else. That's probably the most common way dogs get into the use of drugs. Not that they're using it, but given different type of drugs, is allergies.
That's sure.
Viral thing, you get on the drugs, you get on the antibiotics and the steroids and those things, and that severely compromise the immune system. So it's really tough to recover from that alone. I have seen many people stop that and go on a raw food diet, and then they survive. But that doesn't mean that everybody should do it.
Definitely. There was a question about that, is there, but Zakia, love, she's just so active in this talk, and I'm loving this. And so I'm just like pulling her question. She's asking how you feel about spaying, neutering.
Oh, I if I can avoid that, I have one Dane now that is not neutered at all, and he is complete. That's the first one, because they rescue Danes mostly, but this was a freak thing. I happened to get a puppy that was just nothing was done with. So I got him without anything being done to the dog, and they're still like that today. And that Dane is completely different, not complete, but very different from other Danes I ever had. It's so full of life. It's so different. And I'm looking at that dog every day. I say, gosh, you're different.
Really?
Alert. So I don't know. It's just something about this dog I haven't not seen in Danes before. So it's going to be interesting to see the lifespan of this dog. But I'm not going to, because I never leave my dogs alone in any public place. So I mean, this dog could never make another dog pregnant because I'm not around dogs ever. When I walk my dogs, if I meet other dogs, I go somewhere else. So we avoid each other. I don't let my dogs mingle with any other dogs other than my own. So it's not like not being not neuter the dog is irresponsible. I'm fully aware of the responsibility not neuter a dog or keep it intact. But gosh, moving that important or type of organs, going to have some effect on the dog. And but I do understand in some cases it has to be done. But if you into rescue, then you never get they're all neutered and spayed. You never get anything that's not neutered and spayed. But this is a freak thing that happened to me. It was never planned.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's what had also to do with the lifespan and aging, how fast you age and things like that in dogs, if they're neuter or not. But this will be one of the things. I have a couple other dogs in my study, 2 Great Danes that are not neutered, but it's fairly young. So if there is any difference, I'd like to have more.
Yes, join in the study, you guys, right? We'd like to have more. And before we get into the questions that were asked before, here's a question on exercise. Do you think there's a limit to smaller dogs walking? Because, someone, Melik Stockholm asks, I'm curious if there would be a limit to push.
Well, usually you can't really push a dog to do too much. That's really happening, but they will tell you if they're done, if they walk, probably slow down. And that also had to do with age. Older dogs definitely not going to walk as much as the smaller ones. I mean, the younger ones. But also, just because when you have older, it depends where they're coming from too. Because I see more with the smaller dogs or the dachshunds I used to have, when they got into 40, 16 and 17 years old, they definitely slow down. And at the end, they just stopped walking. They're just looking at me, okay, I had enough. One of them just turned around and started walking back. No idea. So they usually, they will tell you. Just
letting you know.
Forcing the dog. And I don't mean when I say exercise, walk is fine. They don't have to run crazy and do all kinds of things. Just if you have a young puppy, yeah, they like to run. They like to play. The older they get, the more they slow down, and let them sniff. And that's a very good thing, smell and sniffing around. I'm fortunate I can leave my dogs off leash. I don't have to have any leash on them, so I let them do what they want. I start walking. I'm in an area where I can see around for miles. So if somebody coming, I just call my dogs and then keep them close to me. And then when there's no one around, I let them do what they want to do. And they definitely like to sniff and smell, and that's their mental stimulation. And they don't get a lot of that if you only let them out in your yard. Because people say, yard, and just let them out there. That's fine, absolutely, for small party breaks and things like that. But they like to get out of their own environment and smell and other dogs and try to figure out what's going on here. It's like their little type of newspaper,
Definitely letting them out to the yard is nothing like they're just going potty, but not doing any stimulation or anything.
The same old every day, nothing new, no a lot of new stimulations and things. So if you have a chance to walk your dogs on top of that, that's good. I have a nice yard, and I let them out in the morning and the evening for the party breaks. But in between there, I drive off, and I had a couple of neighbors. Are you walking a dog? You have a big yard. No, they need more than that.
Yes. You're such a great representation of how they're supposed to live. So I'm just so thankful for that. And I'm sure a lot of people are. Thousands of people.
I know we love the dogs so much, and we treat them like humans. And I try to not. My dogs are animals, and I'm fully aware of that. And I try to remember that. But you love them so much, and you start treating them like humans. And I think there's some problems there too when you are too. You love them too much, loving on them too much and things like that. So there's a balance everywhere. when you think about it, in nature, they, there's nobody over there scratching and petting them all day long. So they need, I see some dogs is just way too dependent on a lot of love, and then in a sense that you're rewarding things that you maybe shouldn't reward, and you get dogs with a lot of bad habits, and that's hard to untrain that, because you sort of feel bad when you don't do what you normally did to help you. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but try and mimic more of what's happening innate. I always, if I have a question I don't really fully understand or don't know the answer, I'm thinking what would happen in nature, and I go back and sort of, okay, see if I can get close to that.
Yes, you're doing the best.
Yeah,
the best
yeah,
interpretation.
Complete different life that they're designed for. They're not designed to live in a house. I mean, but we do, of course. We have, it's not a bad thing or anything, but the whole makeup is not meant to live the way most dogs live. So I know it's
completely right. Okay, the questions are coming up, Thomas, and I think we answered this one pretty much, but I'm just so happy that it came up. I'm just going to go over it. It writes down, is it possible to lengthen the lives of dogs and cats with raw food? Since we started the conversation with this,
is it possible what?
To lengthen the lives of dogs and cats with raw food.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Then you feed the dog what their digestive system was designed to take nutrients from. So when you do that, then your immune system is pretty happy about that, and it stays strong and can fight off diseases, bacteria, viruses, but also slow down the aging process.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the aging process is the free radicals, the production of free radicals, and that will definitely slow down because you're eating really healthy food. There's not a lot of things that the body can handle in a raw food diet. In a kibble diet, it cannot sustain a strong immune system on a kibble diet, and I'm a firm believer of that. That is impossible. Yes, the dog will live and survive, but it will decline much faster than it will do on a raw food diet because of the compromised immune system. And they often get organ damage, they get kidney things, diabetes. Those sort of things happen quite a bit often in cats and dogs on a kibble diet. And that also means if the kidneys and the livers are not working properly, again, the immune system cannot sustain itself. So that leads to a compromised immune system. And further down the line, they're probably going to, at one point, develop cancer or some other serious thing, because we all have cancer. All the animals ever had cancer cells, but a dog with a healthy immune system, same with humans, they can handle cancer cells. It's a daily thing. It's a normal thing. It's just when the immune system get weaker and weaker, these cancer cells are allowed to develop themselves, and the body can't control them, can't put them into apoptosis and those things. So eventually tumors and other things gonna happen. And again, that's because of the immune system is compromised. So
yeah,
it all really goes back to the diet. Because every dog, I do a lot of cancer consultation in dogs, and 99% of them are kibble fed. Always been kibble fed all the way through, done all the vaccination, everything. And which people think they're proud of it. Oh yeah, I feed the highest, kibble that money can buy, or the quality kibble. I vaccinate every year. I do all the flea, tick, and heartworm. I do everything right. And my vet told me, and still my dog had cancer. So they don't truly understand what's going on.
Yes, that's really, really sad.
Perfect storm to get cancer.
Perfect storm.
Yes.
Actually, there is a question that I want to put up here, because it's just about this. It says, okay, here it's up. What are the most important factors contributing to cancer?
the diet, first of all, the kibble, because there's no way a dog can sustain the immune system on that type of diet, because the digestive system was never designed for that. Then you just add that with doing all your vaccinations. If you have any kind of a little problem, like an itchy thing, you go to the vet and you start, get on steroids or you get on some antibiotics. That's another one. And lack of exercise. And but the number one is the food, and then over vaccination. Those two things together probably gonna most likely gonna give a dog or a cat cancer. And it sounds horrible saying that, but
yes, like you said, it's the perfect storm for it.
I just have to go from what I experienced myself. I'm really not listening to anybody anymore, and done over 400 cancer cases. That is the common thing. Kibble, a lot of vaccinations, or at least follow the recommendations, and those two things alone. But then you will usually do flea, tick, and heartworm, and you will bring your dog in. If it has any type of health issue, bring it to the vet, and you will easily get on some antibiotics and steroids, which is further going to compromise it. So.
Yes, it's a really sad story. We have to get enlightened about this.
I think it's so sad because people think they're doing the right thing, and then they come to realize maybe down the line they've gone through 2 or 3 generations. Every single, and this happens a lot, and it's terrifying too, that every dog they had, some of them had like 4th or 5th generation dogs, and they all died of cancer. And then they finally woke up and they realized, oh my gosh, I'm now starting to understand why my dog getting cancer. And they feel so bad for all the other dogs. But
so bad.
Yes, and they think they did the right thing because this would, the veterinarian recommended this, and then you want to really trust your veterinarian, So I know that's the part I hate most about doing what I do, not hate, but that's the most disturbing when I try to explain. People ask, I don't understand why these dogs getting cancer. I did all the right thing, and I say what I've said here, and if they understand it and they do their own research and come to the same conclusion, there's a moment there where they feel horrible. But what they have to think about, at least very often you need some horrible experience to change your mind or thinking, and that's what most of the people that switch to a raw food diet that I know had some sort of an experience that made them start researching and then come to find about the raw food diet and the benefit. I don't know if anybody been to my Instagram page, but I have about 400 cases there where dogs are just not being able to heal themselves with conventional things, and there are many of these come from the veterinarians. But a lot of drugs been given and nothing works, and then they cut everything out and got on a raw food diet, and the dog healed itself. And they're about
just like that.
And I have many more, and that's all I had time to put up. But it just repeats itself over and over and again. That food, is medicine.
Food is medicine, and the question came up. I'm sure that you don't have just one, but what is, on top of your head, the most incredible healing story that you've ever experienced?
There's some of the cancer stories, and that's so I can't go out and talk about this. I got me in trouble before.
Okay.
But it is the cancer cases where they're fully recovered, switching to a raw food diet and cancer fighting supplements. But there are many on the Instagram that had terrible allergies, with just scratching and non-stop, being all raw, bleeding from the paws, chewing the paws, things like that is horrible too. And that's all been healed by switching to a raw food diet. So there are many stories like that. So I just know it's working. That's why I like doing it, because I know it's the only way to fully heal a dog is to feed the right food.
Yes, totally agree. Do you think there is a wrong time to switch to raw, or is there a case that you've seen that did not go well with raw? This is an honest question here.
Never seen a dog not being able to benefit from a raw food diet. Yes, there are dogs that don't want to switch, and it could be a struggle and a battle to switch the dogs. That, I mean, especially cats are, some older cats are really hard to switch. But I've never seen anybody have negative effects. So they, oh no, I got to go back to kibble because it's not working. No. Yes, some dogs have diarrhea. They can have diarrhea from 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days, and that kind of, help with that. But no, never ever had a dog because they didn't think the dog would benefit from. But yes, that people are going back to kibble because they didn't, the feeding a raw food diet took too much time and things like that, was really hard to deal with. But not because they're so results. And there's some, and you're aware of that, there is, when you switch the diet, there's some dogs that can go into some, what we call a healing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
They have allergy symptoms of itchy skin and things like that. And then you go on a raw food diet and they heal up really nicely and they stop itching. And then it comes back full time, or not full time, but full on again, maybe sometimes even worse than it was. And then they can, raw food diet didn't work at all. And then they stop. Very few people stop. At least if they talk to me, I say, no, battle through that. That's the body really, really responding. Is the best sort of news. Means that you have that really toxic body and the immune system is kicking in. Everything starts working. So it's going to be a period now where it's going to look pretty, bad and thinking it's not working. But if you battle through that period, it will come out on their back end. They come out really, really healthy. That's not chronic. That will relieve itself if you stick with the diet. What often help there, if they are fed some fruits and vegetables, maybe a little bit more than I suggest, if they cut that out completely for a week or 2 or 3, it up, because you get all the carbs and sugar out of, which is often feed some of these or help making these healing things even worse.
Definitely. So we already answered this question. There aren't any cases you've seen that have not done well with raw, and this is just great news to hear. And it's just so incredibly honest, and also it's like you don't even have to think about this. I know for you this is a no-brainer question for you and for a lot of us as well, because I can't imagine a single cat or a dog not doing well on what they have been designed to eat, right?
It's impossible for that to happen, in a sense, when you know that that's the food the whole dog or a cat is designed for, is a raw food diet. And if you take that away and then replace it with something else, there is no way that's going to be better. It has to be worse over time.
Yes.
Well, think about it. Of all the living things, species on this planet, humans are the only one that cook their food. Nobody else cooked their food.
Yes.
That is a diet that we forced upon dogs that was, and they had not adapted to it. That stories are, oh no, dogs have been around so long, they adapted to that diet. Absolutely a myth, not true at all. They have not adapted one bit. People don't argue with me on that, but I don't see that.
Yeah, they just want to get fed, and they're very, very loving children, and they don't want to upset their parents, I feel like, so they just feed on what they've been served with. I think they're just good boys and girls, That's why a lot of us don't question it.
No,
but then
those that take time to really study the digestive system, how it functions on a carnivore, they see, oh gosh, that's the only thing that makes sense. That is a raw food diet. I mean, these animals are meant to kill something and eat it, and we don't want to do that. But we still can feed them or mimic the diets as much best as we can, and that's often enough.
just enough. Raw food, exercise, and a little at the minimum amount of intervention you can do to your dog is the best way to allow them to live to their best. Yes. And there are a lot of questions coming up right now. Sadie, Select Pet Food. Thank you for following us, by the way. And I just saw that. I'm putting up the question again. It didn't come up. I'm trying to do it again. But okay, we have one on the gut can you touch on the best live probiotics to help heal the gut? Many do not know.
Spore-based probiotics, soil-based, not the regular probiotics. There's no little or no value in that. Yeah. Spore-based, which is from the soil-based, spore-based probiotics. I think some of this actually come from Turkey. Some of this country over there had really good spore or soil-based probiotics. And
Really?
Ground. Yeah, they dig it, down in the ground. And that probiotics is not, the problem with regular probiotics is the heat. They're so sensitive to heat. The moment you produce these probiotics, if you can freeze it and ship to you frozen, yes, it's going to be alive. But if they bottle it, put it in capsule, bottle it up, put it on the shelves, sitting on Amazon somewhere for weeks and weeks, it's nothing in there. But when you buy soil-based or they call it spore-based, it have no effect. The heat has no effect on it. Until they find an environment where they can come alive, and one of those environments are the gut. So yes, spore-based, soil-based.
Spore-based, soil-based probiotics are recommended by Thomas. And there's a follow-up. What about raw milk and kefir?
What?
What about raw milk, goat's milk, and kefir?
Well, only way I can see maybe benefit from that is puppies, like really, really young puppies, because when they grow up, their body kind of shuts out that method of taking up nutrients through these. That's just my opinion. I have never fed my dogs any type of probiotics from milk or kefir and all those things. But if you do it, just do it in small doses. It's not a lot. Because in the wild, these dogs or carnivores will never get it after they wean off. They never find any of this anywhere. Unless
That's true. That's true. I feel like with these kinds of products, we're just trying to like close those gaps that we maybe not be providing with like the sort of the limited proteins we have, you know what I mean? Or like the way they've been raised, the animals, the way they have been raised. So it's not always like they're the happiest, healthiest animals. So we're just like trying to, I don't know, blend these, good products, good nutritions that are also used in humans for dogs or cats to make up for the missing links or something.
Our digestive system is different from a dog, and they can benefit from those type of probiotics from those products, but I don't see a carnivore doing it. They have no place to ferment anything, and which the fermentation is important to bring nutrients out of what they eat, especially for vegetation of fruits and vegetables and things that to get be fully able to extract nutrient from that, they need a place to ferment it, and carnivores don't have that.
Okay, so what about for fermented veggies and products, though? You recommend those? I know how you stand on veggies, so.
Yeah, I haven't fed it, but I'm not against that. I can see it makes some sense, but then again, how much would a wild animal get of that type of food in the wild? Do they need it? Well, they might get something from killing an animal of some, like an omnivore and herbivore, and get something from their stomach or lining of the stomach and on there. But I don't know if it's essential for them to sustain a good immune system. I don't think they're going to destroy anything in small dosages. So I'd like people to also do little things that it's not damaging, but maybe not even beneficial, but keep the peace of mind. They like to keep vegetables just for their own peace of mind. I don't see problem that as long as the dog is already healthy.
Yes, that's the point. But that's a whole other topic. I think it's really, really big, and maybe we'll have another one on just like gut, right? But we have a few more questions, and this is really important. And about cats, it doesn't have the ending to it, so I'm going to read it from here. My cat has some problems with his pancreas, and is allergic to chicken and beef. So we changed his diet from raw to cooked. Is that wrong? Does it have the complete information for you to answer?
It can take a while, guess. This is an older cat, at least up there in close to 10 or something. I don't know. Ask.
Yes.
That sounds like a leaky gut.
Mm.
And when the gut is leaking, then the undigested food is entering into the bloodstream. And when you do a test, and most people feed chicken, so they get chicken protein into the bloodstream, and then they think, okay, allergic to chicken. So to another group of meat, and then eventually you're going to get allergic to that too, because that's going to leak into the gut. So they need to find something to heal the leaky gut, and there is a really out there. And I never mention products because I don't want people just to run out and buy it and use it, and maybe they don't. It's good. Well, it's never really bad to give small doses or anything natural, but it's called phytospore. That's the best one I've seen and cats can eat it too, or they like it. What you do, I assume this cat is at Raw Food since it's on your podcast area or whatever you call this.
Yes.
It's something called phytospore.
Phytospore. I heard this from Dr. Nick as well. I think he recommends it.
He's a really big believer. We both sell it too, and we believe in that much. I give it to my cats a little bit, a tiny bit, every other 2 or 3 days, just to keep their gut healthy. That's one of the few things that they tested and work for leaky gut. And my guess there, I can't diagnose anything, but my guess sounds like a leaky gut problem, since they figured out it was allergic to chicken and beef. Oh, it says beef too, yeah. So they probably and that's probably what they've been feeding, chicken and beef, and that's what they're allergic to. So when you start
yes, I know for a fact that they've been eating those. This is really revolutionary.
When you have a leaky gut, you're going to be allergic to what food you're feeding, because that's what type of protein they're going to leak into the bloodstream. So it's very confusing in that sense. So it's not they're allergic to it, but that's what ends up in the bloodstream and looks like it's allergic to it. So so if you can fix the leaky gut, then can go these dogs and cats can eat chicken and beef again.
Yes, it's such a revelation. I hope it helped, and we can go on, checking up on Irem on them. Let us know what happens with this leaky gut, phytospore.
A kibble-fed dog or cat will eventually, all of them will get leaky gut, and then they be adding on to all the other problems, because now you start having protein allergies, and protein allergies, I said, it's all come from kibble food. I never see protein allergies in raw fed dogs. I've never ever seen it.
This is such an important topic, because I can't even count the people who are coming in and applying us with all these protein allergies that they've been tested with. And this was it just clicks now, and they've all been kibble fed, because they're just getting into this raw feeding or natural feeding idea even. So that's the thing, that's the underlying problem. Right? Okay, that's
you detect that, the earlier can fix it. If you've gone through years and years with having different type of allergies, these guts are so leaky, then it's tough to heal them, and especially because those animals usually are older too, and the older you get, the tougher it is to heal. But that's one of the big benefits, and nobody ever think about feeding a raw food diet. Most likely never going to see a leaky gut.
That's just amazing to hear. Like I said, maybe we can do another one on gut and this leaky gut. We can just talk again and more about it with allergy tests as well.
And I ask you that answer that. Is grain necessary for a raw food diet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yes. Grain is not necessary. You never use grain, right? You never recommend grain in any. Never. We don't use either, but there are a lot of questions about it, so I just wanted to put that up to get to the end of that. We have another from Sadie's. Can you please explain why titer testing is so important? but it
teeter.
didn't come. If
Yeah,
I'm
learned well, you titer test, the teeter test.
titer test.
Well, you for titer test for rabies,
Yes.
and all you're trying to do is to see if there are antibodies for rabies still in the body. Many do accept that, okay, there are antibodies here, we don't need to vaccinate. Because what's the point? Yeah, you vaccinate to create antibodies. So if they're already there, you can, some places here in the United States, they accept that, the titer test, so you don't have to vaccinate. That thing is not the sad thing, but what happens if the body never get exposed to these different things that they have antibodies for, they stop producing live, sort of like active versions of it. They goes into memory cells, so the body just keep it in as a memory of how to make them. So let's say they get exposed years later for a type of virus that they have been vaccinated or had antibodies for before, but the body, they can't detect them anymore because they're moved into that stage of memory cells. And if they get exposed to the viruses, the memory cells will wake up and they will mass produce antibodies again. So it's always there, but since you can't detect them, and people know more and more about that this is actually happening, but they can't detect them, so you can't provide evidence that they have antibodies, so then they vaccinate again. But it is in the body. So if somebody could find a way to detect memory cells, that'd be awesome. But I don't see anybody being very interested in doing that other than dog owners and pet owners, because if the pharmaceutical companies now figure out, wait a minute, one vaccine is a lifetime because now they detect memory cells, they're out of business. You just need it.
Yes, but that would be so good for dogs and
Well,
their
that
humans.
means antibodies wear off. Yes, they wear off in the sense that you can detect them less and less and less, but they're still in the body. They're hidden in the body, and they will wake up if they get exposed to that virus they have built antibodies for. That's very controversial, but I've seen reports out there, people store it. I never heard anybody talk about memory cells before. So when I talk about it, oh, that sounds amazing. And I don't mean, even veterinarians had no idea what that is. But now it started to come out, but I don't think it's going to change anything.
I mean, you're looking from, such a higher perspective. So this just...
Natural immunity. That's why I like natural immunity. That get the vaccine, get the virus, if you're healthy, you survive. And the same with dogs, you're healthy, you survive. And then that type of antibodies are much more sustainable or will go into memory cells eventually and become your best protection. Because it went through the process with activate all the parts of the immune system. And injection doesn't activate the whole part of the immune system to create that immune response of these antibodies. The T cells are not activated. Your body don't get sick. Sometimes you get sick from vaccines, but the sign that you actually got a virus and a bacteria is the body. You get sick. You get fever. The body tried to create an environment for these viruses and bacteria not to live or hate or leave. And I said, oh my gosh, this body is sick. We don't like it here. So that's the nature way of getting rid of viruses and battle it, make you sick for a couple of weeks. Then you have activated everything, the T cells and the B cells, and you create that really, really good, strong immunity. That doesn't happen with an injection. You bypass that. It's unnatural. So they probably won't last that long either. So when it comes back to this COVID thing, I'm a pretty healthy person, and I hope I'm just went out, and if I get it, I'm pretty happy because that's the way I want to create immunity.
I remember us talking about this way before, when the whole COVID thing hit the world.
The dog owners that take their puppies to the dog park and walking through the dog park hoping they're going to pick up something because they have a healthy dog, and they would go through, get sick for a day or two or whatever they're going to catch, and then build that natural immunity, because that's the way we supposed to function. That's the body's set up to, if you are fairly healthy and strong, you survive most things that when it comes to bacteria and viruses.
Yes, of course. The interactions we face, right,
Mm-hmm.
help our immunities get stronger. But if we're just like isolated or, treated with chemicals and stuff, then it gives us a bad hand. So it's just that we can't deal with a lot of stuff coming up. And so it's all about natural, interactions and natural healing.
Yes.
Oh,
That's-
yes. And Thomas, we have a few more questions, and I know that we postponed to talk with the technical difficulties. Do you have 10 more minutes?
yeah. Well, let me just quickly on the first. I don't know if it's from or he or it's just a question from stories. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of people. It says about the underlying causes of eye
Eye
discharge.
discharge. Yes.
That's an infection, most likely. Some infection somewhere in the body. A really, really, really good. This is a second supplement I'm going to talk about. And the way to get rid of that is with colloidal silver.
Colloidal silver. Okay.
Really good for that. So what that person would do is to, gosh, I normally don't talk about things in detail, how much to give and stuff, but they got to give more than normal. That person, whoever that is, feel free to contact me and I will tell you exactly what to do.
Okay, this is so great. I'm just noting it down. Whoever asked it.
It sounds like I'm being secretive or anything, but I don't want to just tell you, okay, give this and this 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, and then everybody going to start doing that for all kinds of different reasons. So
yes, but I'm very interested in colloidal silver as well. So we'll talk about it in private. I'll ask you more about it.
Number one, most favorite thing, because it can handle bacteria and viruses. Very few things can handle that. But
okay. I have a question that actually came up from a recent family member. And he was really pissed at me because I didn't ask it before to other vets. Colloidal silver, I think there's a spray that people now it's been marketed for teeth, dental problems and just like cleaning up the teeth. Do you have any idea what that is? Would you?
No.
Okay, maybe after that.
I'm using it because I'm making myself say I know it's working. I know it's made the right way. 10 ppm is all I use, and it's made with electricity. So that's the type of colloidal silver one. You don't want to use anything made with in a solution, and you need electricity made. Colloidal silver made with electricity because those are tiny, tiny, tiny particles, and it's just spend on 10 ppm and plenty. And you could put that, yes, with the colloidal silver I sell it in bottles, but everybody get a spray bottle with the bottle. So then they can outside things, and then they could use the bottle. They also give a syringe, and they use the syringe for internal issues. But it's very interesting since it takes care of bacteria and viruses. So I've seen this too many times working, so I will never not say it's not working. And I will argue with anybody that says it's not working and give me some sort of a proof that it's not working. Because I just see what I see. And I have a lot of people on the dog understand on using colloidal silver for so many issues.
That's just eye-opening. I would love to learn more. Like I said, I'll just contact you in private as well.
Good, you go and get a colloidal silver maker, and then you make it yourself, and you could probably market it and sell it like crazy over in Turkey.
Yes, and actually like see those benefits and use them. Do you would you like to talk about like how what areas, not like specific ways, but what areas of health would you use that for?
Almost any, because when dogs get sick, it's usually a bacterial thing. Like if they have they are usually a bacterial thing. If there are any type of infections going on, you can spray it straight on the area where you see infections. If you go through any type of internal surgeries and things like that, and they're taking out an obstruction, whatever it is, just then you use more than you would normally do. I put something in the water for my dogs and cats, so it's always something to get, and you can't overdo it because it's only in the body for like maybe 24 hours, and then it's out. Do any damage to your dog. I know people that drink tons of this stuff. I have no problem with it, but I don't know if that's necessary. But.
Yes, I read that too. So it's a minimum like intervening way to treat bacterial maybe infections and viruses. So it's really good. Alternative to antibiotics.
Yeah, exactly this instead of that. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying all these things, but kennel cough, a dog with a kennel cough, if you just go on a pretty high dose of that for the day, it's usually gone the day after.
I wish I knew all these when my babies were going through, you know, I adopted them off the streets and they were going through these like youth disease, parvo or something. I don't even know what's called in English, but just such bad infections throughout the lungs.
What type of virus a dog you think have go on a high dose for a week or so will most likely fix it. I can't say it will, but from my experience, it's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. I'm so happy to learn this.
Seeing it and telling people that I deal with on one-on-one basis, the report I get back, things I've done with my own pets, things I've done with myself. If I feel my throat is a little bit scratched, start itching, what that's going to lead to. And if I start then drinking quite a bit of it, then it goes away. And I'm not the one saying this. I'm very careful about the recommending anything, but I have no problem recommending colloidal silver. I know there are several out there that are much more famous and known than I am that are against it, that say it doesn't work. And I've seen somebody copied on some Facebook page posts from some very high up in this dog world saying they don't recommend it. So
I mean, there's always conflicting opinions. I don't even know why, but maybe they have not experienced it. That's like I want to think.
Verbally, we'll talk about recommend is something I've seen working over and over and over again. No, I can't prove it with some sort of a scientific study and thing. I wish at one point we'll do it, but there is a lot of papers on colloidal silver out there. You being able to handle bacteria and viruses. So there is enough papers out there, and but you cannot go out and tell someone you'll be shut down if you do that on the website. Say, okay, this is going to heal this and this and this. So you can't say that.
Yes, you can't say that, but you can open our eyes and we can go through the doors you've just unlocked.
They buy it. It's not illegal to buy it. So what you can do, buy it and then use it for something that you think you'll hope it will work for and see the results. I mean, I just posted, when was that? Like maybe 6 months ago on my Facebook when my Dane suddenly had this huge red cherry, I think, popping out of his eye. I said, oh my gosh, there's probably an insect bite of some sort. When I saw it on the morning walk and I just saw it from like, what is that red thing in his eye? You can see it from 30 feet away. We were hanging out there and took pictures of it, went home, sprayed it with colloidal silver 4 or 5 times, and then in the evening it was gone.
This is great to hear because, one of our family dogs had something, a red bump on his foot, and I'm just going to talk about this to them afterwards because it might just, help. And it's not the traditional way a lot of the clinics here respond. A lot of clinics don't recommend this, so it's really eye-opening, and we should get on it, I think.
Well, I know personally a lot of veterinarians, not a lot of, but some veterinarians use it. They use it they used it much more before. Because it was kind of common in the old days, but they used the solution that they dissolved it, so it was bigger particles. So still had a healing effect. But then when antibiotics came around in the 1940s or whatever around that time, then they kind of went away. So nobody's really using it. Or natural type of healers and things, they used it the whole time. They used it and believe in it, but it was much more common before that, and they used iodine and things like that, put it on. And I remember as a kid going into hospital, it completely stunk like iodine everywhere. Never feel that anymore. That's another
That's good.
I cannot talk about actually. That's another thing that really, really missing. But you have a dog with allergies and also raw fed, and you see
Yeah,
get rid of it, I'd suggest trying iodine, 1 or 2 drops in the food
iodine.
for a couple of. Here's my G, the youngest Dane.
Yes, for unresolved infections. Oh, hi, iodine and colloidal silver, but in proper amounts. And please ask Thomas more if you'd like to learn more about it, as I will as well. And I know a few vet friends I have who are like really knowledgeable about colloidal silver. I'll ask them too. But great to know from you. Okay, there's a question that I feel like you might need more details too, so we can pass it, but I'm just going to ask it. Thomas, can you give any advice on a dog diagnosed with exocrine pancreatic insufficiency?
Oh yeah, no, that'd be difficult again.
Yes, it's really detailed because we don't have the history, we don't have the
Yeah.
age, the breed, right? What's she or he has been, eating, and
Yeah, how old and what's the past? Been on kibble before,
so please contact Thomas.
Yeah,
And
still no problem if they feed a raw food diet already, or how long, and what they're feeding and anything else they give, because that I don't see any problem feeding a raw food diet, but I don't know other things. So
for sure. Okay, so and there's a really great question to end with, and we can talk more about a few more. We can talk more about. Okay, I have a few more. Let's just say 3 last questions, okay, Thomas? And then I know you have that consultation, and we'll schedule another talk because
no,
I don't think we're done.
I'm doing it tomorrow at the same time tomorrow.
Oh, all right. That's amazing. Okay, we have another one from Sadie's again. Do you follow any guidelines, NRC, AFCO, FADIOF, or do you just have different ratios to feed daily?
Never followed any of them ever. Nice. Who knows these things? Where did it come from? The recommended daily doses or anything? Where did that come from? How do they know? Every dog is different. Every human is different. And even how to achieve that, what you use to achieve it, does that have the ingredients or the nutritional values that you hope they have to match this national, whatever it is, all these things? No, I believe in the variety. Provide the sources for the body to take what it needs. So that's what I'm working on. So it's impossible to follow. I mean, to accomplish that, in my opinion, I'm going to drug. But some people like it. They thrive on these things and try to create these absolute perfect diets according to these numbers that these places come out with. So I never paid attention to it, honestly.
Yeah.
I
think your upbringing has so much to do with how comfortable you are with everything. I think that's an amazing life story. I just said it in Turkish, so you might not have heard it, but you are what you've been taught since you were a child, and you just extensively research on it for just letting other people know what you've already learned in your family household. So that's, I think, really, really amazing and rare. And it's just gives you this whole strength and confidence that maybe a lot of people are not accustomed to.
Yeah, there's no way you know what your body needs down to those levels. There's no way you can. I mean, the guidelines and things that you want to give, so you cover all the important minerals and then vitamins and things like that. But for a carnivore, that's all in the meat. And if you feel that you're not covering everything, yes, you can give a multivitamin, you can give multi mineral supplements. I have no problem with that. And just to cover gaps that might be in the food, I think that's a good idea. But just to start analyzing and figure, oh my God, how much A should I give? How much B? How much, of the different magnesium and sulfur and all this thing is just gonna, I don't know, going to scare you away, because then you're going to go back to kibble, because back on the kibble bag says everything that's in there, and it's 100%, 100%, 100%. So people then wrongly think, okay, this is better than raw food. And some think, okay, I'm going to feed raw, but I'm also going to feed some kibble, because kibble have all the nutrients that the dog needs. So this use that as the supplement, because they feel so comfortable with what's written on the back of a kibble bag, so they sort of can use that as a, nutritional source, which is pretty wrong.
For sure. Yes.
There's some really crazy post out there about somebody. I'm not going to say any names or anything, but there was somebody said it's okay to feed kibble and cooked food and vegetables. Is that a good diet? And the person that's answered it is very, very famous and say, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And if you're going to do that, feed kibble, and you can't afford to feed the whole thing raw, instead of cooking what you add to the kibble, add the raw part. Why do you have to cook it? I mean, it's not going to do. Add the raw, because then you get the fully nutritional value. Even if it's 1 or 2 small raw pieces, it's better than nothing. I'm not like any type of fan of combining this thing, but the reality is that not everybody can afford to feed a raw food diet.
Yes.
So you can do anything to enhance that whatever you feed, but don't cook it. People have this thing that they have to cook everything. Don't cook it. Just give it raw. Same with the eggs. And then if people can give an egg, 1 or 2,
I think, does your voice, I can't hear you right now, but can you hear me, Thomas, right?
but you probably didn't hear anything I said.
Oh,
So.
yeah. I'm hearing you now.
Hold on, let me just write something to this person. Let it just keep coming.
All right. So just to wrap it up, no cooking, please. Even though if you're feeding kibble, you might add some pieces of raw for your furry friend to get the most out of their nutritional supplement. As you know, I'm using the supplement word really freely as to say, fresh food. I think a lot of people. Yeah.
Keep calling me. All right. Okay.
All right. I think a lot of people who are feeding a kibble and something else like fresh diet. Sometimes I have seen like dogs or cats, have this like stomach upset because like they're both eating kibble and fresh food. So I think maybe trying to cook the food and just like making it easier to digest. I think that's the idea behind it, but I'm not pro. I'm not like saying anything about if it's good or not. I'm just like trying to interpret it.
Yeah, because we tend to think our animals a little bit like us, because that's what happened to us. If you cook the food, it's going to handle it better, but I don't see that in animals.
Sure. So no cooking, and that answers our last question that was up, but we can't see it right now. Someone asked if you would recommend meat cooked, slightly cooked, or uncooked, and the answer is obvious.
Yeah, no, ideally, absolutely raw, because the moment you start cooking food, you start destroying enzymes first. Enzymes that the body will use to digest the food is in the food, but they also have their own digestive system, enzymes that the body produces, but there are enzymes in the food that make it easy to digest. So when you start even warming it up a little bit, past the room temperature, going into that, some enzymes start dying. And when you really cook it, you start altering the proteins and other things too, so the body won't really recognize it. And protein tend to chain up in chains, and then when that comes into the stomach or into the digestive system, the body doesn't really recognize it and what it is, so they don't get the full benefit of it.
For sure.
But it just start with tiny pieces, little tiny pieces, then increase it little by little if it nervous about it. I believe if you want to go to a raw food diet, the best way to do it to fast for 48 hours and then go straight to a raw food diet. That's how I like to do it. But some people like to, keep mixing it in and weaning them off. And I think that takes much, much, much longer because you have the kibble in there and then you have the raw in there and the body doesn't really know what do I digest. The raw is going to be digested much faster than the kibble.
Mm-hmm.
Have that conflict in there. So the body probably very confusing for the body.
I definitely agree. Do you recommend the 48 hours fasting period for cats as well?
No, cats, you can't really do that.
Just want to make that clear. Yes.
Cats, you can seem to work better with just weaning them off a little bit,
Yeah.
You try and then just stop and then give a raw food. If it doesn't do it, then you kind of have to trick it into start eating a raw because cats are much more finicky.
Yes, that brings another question to my mind. I wasn't able to bring it up, but are there any differences to your approaches between cats and dogs?
When it comes to what now?
When it comes to selecting food and proteins or, just like anything that's on your mind.
No, the type of protein, the same, my dogs and cats get the same proteins.
Mm.
They get the same organ meats and things like that and the bones and all this.
Always. So just for weaning, we have a few different approaches for cats and dogs because with dogs we can start with, fasting before, and with cats we don't do that. We just let them taste whatever they feel like tasting and get them onto raw food however it's possible and as quickly as possible, but always letting them have their way because cats are really different in that case. And
it's still, both of them are carnivores, one a little bit more obligate than the other, but I like to think about them as both obligate carnivores, but get in trouble with that too. I use the words as obligated to eat raw to sustain a very healthy immune system, but dogs are a little bit more flexible when it comes to that. Cats really need protein. They need meat, red meat and things like that is part of it.
Yes. And Thomas, this is a great question to end with. I'm curious about what you're going to say. Is raw really more expensive than kibble?
Oh yeah, no, it's no doubt. People try to say that it's not. It definitely is, absolutely, and that's why some people can afford it. I mean, my raw food now gone up so much that meat here in the United States is getting really, really expensive, and I can totally, I see it on my budget. It's definitely with these big Danes, they eat a lot, so yes, it's definitely more expensive. But
yeah,
you get smarter about it. There are ways to get smart about feeding that a raw food diet. I mean, we all say in long run you save a lot of money, but it doesn't matter much. Today you don't have enough money to feed a raw, and people say, "Oh, in the long term you're going to save on vet bills and things like that." But that doesn't apply to you when you don't have any money today to feed raw. But so if you don't have that, then like I said, 1 or 2 pieces of chicken or beef is really good, but it's so expensive now. So no, yes, it definitely comes out. I don't think maybe for tiny animals it's going to be kind of similar, for cats and things like that. I don't know what the difference is that, but in general, I'm not going to lie and say no, raw food is cheaper than. But for me, I save on others so I can feed a raw food diet. So that is more important to me. Drop other things and use that money for food for my dogs. But this is part of the thing that I feel it's not a good feeling when you, like me, that are so firm on the raw food diet that is the only way you can heal a dog. When I say those things, and there's people out there listening to this, and I can't afford it, so they feel horrible. If they believe that is true and they can't do it, it's not a good feeling. And I feel.
Sure. I mean, if we look at food as an investment or the way we spend money as an investment, raw food definitely has the most return on our investment for sure. But in the short term, like you said, if you compare budget-wise, meat across the world is getting more expensive.
Yeah.
So it's not like just for dogs, you know, for
Well,
humans as well.
know, I'm fine with that. You low, like the beef is usually, chicken is the cheapest. Usually you feed a little bit more chicken and then go down on the, you know, the red meat and other things that is more expensive. I'm totally fine with that. But get some red meat in there because there's a lot of good stuff in red meat, but that is expensive.
Yeah, that's great to know. So for like larger dogs, like you said, for budget wise, they can still feed raw with mostly cheaper proteins like chicken, but still they would need some sort of red meat to get into the menu with, you know, organ meat, real meat, bones, and that sort.
I just had probably a year ago now, because time flies so fast. I had one that had a dog that had been fed chicken only entire life. Was 17 years old. But then you have kibble fed dogs that have been fed kibble all the time, lived to the 17 too, so I don't know how much that means. But to me, when you switch from kibble to raw, I'm totally fine with feeding chicken only for like a month or 2 or 3. You still do much, much better than kibble. So I'm totally fine with that. But you know, that was also good to maybe supplement with some minerals and other things a little bit. And just a final word so you can save on supplement. This is how I supplement. I'd give half of what's recommended if I supplement. I do supplement with MSM, which is sulfur, magnesium, and those things, and some multivitamin, not so much mineral multivitamins I do. But I do half of what they recommend because the diet is so good in itself, so you can save a lot of money to that. And then I don't supplement at all on the weekends. So Saturday and Sunday, they don't get any supplements. Just to sort of kind of create some need in the body, train the cells to want something. If you're missing something, hey, I need this, I need this. Nothing wrong with that. And then maybe activate the organ reserves a little bit too. But so that's how I do it. And so I don't spend a whole lot on supplements. So. And I think that's a good way to do it. And that's something I've done for the last 2-3 years. I use the supplements like crazy. Like I'll make sure I get them in every day. And if you miss a day, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Supplementing, right?
Yeah.
Term.
Because I don't buy, because for me, I'm trying to get as many people to be able to feed a raw food diet. So I'm not going to say, oh, the only way you can do that is to buy organic meat, which is so I don't do it either. So I buy from the regular grocery store, and I know that is not the best meat in the world. You know, those animals are not treated well, and there's a real conflict in my mind when I start thinking about those things. But I don't want to go tell somebody, yeah, the only way you can do it is buy organic meat so I don't do it. so that's part of my study too, is to see if these Danes can actually live into their teens on that type of food. So that's the only raw meat they got is from the grocery store. And if people do that, it makes it more affordable for more people to feed. And it's still many, many, many times better than kibble.
For sure. Sure. All raw from this point on. All consciously made raw.
Or I'm going to have to go really soon here to have any more.
Yes. Yeah, no, I know we've been keeping you way longer than we promised. And I'm just so thankful for you being an angel throughout this whole process and waiting out with me and just like, you know, forgiving me for messing up the schedule. But I really hope we can, you know, extend our talks from now on and just like do repeats and maybe more specific topics, since we just like answered a lot of general questions too.
Yeah.
And we'll talk in private in what ways we would like to like get them ahead, the topics we'd like to discuss. Yeah. And I'm just so thankful that you were here. Do you want to say anything before you go off?
No, my goal is to make raw feeding or help people get on a raw food diet without the fear of feeding a raw food diet, because you basically go wrong. I mean, it's really, really difficult to go wrong on a raw food diet if you feed 3 or 4 different meat proteins, and then cup liver, and one more is ideal, and put an egg in there. It's very, very difficult to screw that up.
That's great to know. And thank you for everyone for sticking with us and just joining with a lot of comments and questions and just like answering each other even. This was great.
Yep.
So grateful for it.
All right. Then,
Thomas, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay.
All right.
Say hi to the handsome boy. Is that a boy? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. See you soon and good luck with everything. We'll catch up soon. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Thank you for the time. We
All
love
right.
to have you here. Dear Thomas.
Bye bye.
Bye. Katılan herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bir sürü teknik zorluktan sonra açtık. Bunu da ayrı bir şekilde kaydedecektim. Onu henüz yapma fırsatım olmadı ama mutlaka Türkçe altyazısıyla birlikte bu görüşmemizi YouTube'a aktarmak bizim planımızda o gerçekleşecek. Onu bildirmek istedim. Gerçekten çok mutlu oldum. Bütün bu süreçte de yanımızda olan, konuşmaya katılan, sorularıyla, yorumlarıyla, birbirleriyle konuşan bütün katılımcılarıma, izleyicilerime çok teşekkür ediyorum. Aslan da çok heyecanlandı. 1 saatlik görüşmemiz 1,5 saate çıktığı için artık beni dışarı çıkar diyor. Sizleri çok seviyorum katıldığınız için. Gerçekten çok teşekkür ediyorum. Umarım tüm o karmaşadan sonra da sorularımızı rahatça sorabildiğimiz ve öğrenebildiğimiz bir sohbet olmuştur. Ama bu sohbetlerimizin devamı gelecek. Daha da özel konulara odaklanma fırsatımız olacak. Çünkü böyle bir kütüphane ve böyle bir bilgi dağarcığı yüzündeyken gerçekten daha da fazlasını sormak, bu kaynakları olabildiğince Türkçe'de erişilebilir hale getirmek benim için de çok önemli. Thomas çok önemli bir şey söyledi. Benim amacım insanların çiğ besinlere duyduğu korkuyu yok etmek, bu korkunun üzerine gitmek ve devam edebilmelerini sağlamak ve tüylü dostlarımızda bu kadar denli etkisi olan bu sağlıklı besin yapısını gerçekten içsel olarak kolay hale getirmek, başlamayı, devam etmeyi kolay hale getirmek. Ben de onun amacına katılıyorum. Benim de amacım sizler için iyi beslemeyi kolay hale getirmek, bu besinleri, bu bilgileri erişilebilir hale getirmek. Bu anlamda da amacımıza çok uygun bir görüşme yaptığımız için kendimi çok mutlu ve gururlu hissediyorum. Benimle olduğunuz için tekrar çok teşekkür ederim. Büyük patron canım annem de bütün konuşmada buradaydı. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sevgiler, selamlar. Kar abimin ayağı içinde bu Colloidal Silver'ı öğrendim anneciğim. Onunla ilgili de bir danışalım bizim Batuhan Bey'e. Oradan hareket edelim istiyorum. Şimdi Aslan çok bağırıyor. Herkese çok selam söylüyor. Tamam canım benim. Seni çok seviyoruz. Çok sağ olun. Yayını kaydedeceğim. Evet. Herkese iyi akşamlar. TV dostlarıma selamlar. Öpücükler. Çok tatlısınız.